Hi, everyone. It is clear that Otto is no longer interested. I mean, he may return to interest, but you know what? As he's getting older, and he's old for a bulldog, I think he gets a little more ornery. It's a good term. Mm-hmm. So Snoopy, his brother, and they really love each other, unlike most brothers. Is sitting in today. Snoops, you good doggy. Snoop lives to be petted. There is no limit to the amount of time he could enjoy it. I think I made a boo-boo. I really believe I made a mistake. Or as the current English term goes, my bad. Which I've never used in my life, actually. But anyway, here we are. Well, look, there was a dog in there, and I feel a little better. Okay, so I have a very serious opening subject. I'm Dennis Prager, by the way. This is the Fireside Chat, and it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to just say what's on my mind and then take questions from you from literally all over the world. I saw today we have Japan, South Africa, Norway, and Brazil. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. I'd like to remind you that the only way PragerU operates is because people donate money, and they donate a lot of money, thank God. And that's why we have so much of a reach, aside from the quality of our content. So this is Fundraising Month, and I'd like you to know that this week, thanks to generous donors, whatever you give is tripled. Give $100, it's $300. You give $10,000, it's $30,000. You give $5, it's $15. Okay? We don't only think in terms of $10,000 gifts, I promise you. It means a lot to us, whatever people give. It's a statement that you want us to continue, and everything we do is free, and we're making a difference. So thank you very much. Go to PragerU.com, and it's easy to make a donation there. Thank you. So I asked Jordan Peterson a question when we were together a few months ago, which preoccupies me because I think about good and evil, moral issues all the time, and it's built in. And it's amazing to me how much is built in, just the way it is. So I said to him, do we ever really know somebody until they're tested? And he didn't even think. He just said no. And I was really bouncing an idea off him. And I want you to think about that. Do you really know you until you're tested? That's a very interesting question. So if we don't know others really until they're tested, then there's no reason to think we would know us until we're tested. So here's another question that came up in my Dennis and Julie podcast. I wondered, is everybody tested? Or does it it happens? You know, Charles Krauthammer, who is no longer with us, he was a great American columnist, writer, commentator. And when he was in medical school, he had a diving accident. He was a real studly guy, and he dived into a pool at Harvard Medical School. It was too shallow and crushed the upper part of his spine. Anyway, he became paralyzed largely from the neck down. That's a test. How do you react to that? You're a stud one day, and then a minute later, you're a quadriplegic. That's a test. And by the way, he passed with flying colors. He graduated with his class. He didn't even fall behind while in the hospital and unable to turn pages in a book. So that's an obvious test. So the question, therefore, is, are all of us tested? Most of us will not have an accident and have such a severe and severely terrible reaction. But I would argue that everyone is tested. It may not be as dramatic as becoming a quadriplegic, but I would argue that everyone is tested, and not just once. So here's a test. It'll bother some of you. I'm not saying it to bother any of you, but I recognize that it might, and so be it. How you react to the following subject that has divided American society and will probably divide others as well is a test. Can a biological woman compete in women's sports? Because he says that he is a woman. Or even if you want to say she says she is a woman, it doesn't matter to me. It's a biological male. The whole reason there is women's sports and men's sports is that men have a competitive edge. If they didn't, there wouldn't be two sports. Women's tennis, men's tennis, women's weightlifting, men's weightlifting, women's basketball, men's basketball, everything. We don't have women's medical exams and men's medical exams because intellectually they have equivalent brains. But physically, males have an advantage in any physical sport. By physical sport, I think you know what I mean. Chess, I guess you wouldn't say it's a sport in any event, but obviously I don't think that is divided by men and women. I believe that is a test. What does it test? Your attitude. It tests the following. First, are you willing to go against the tide, to swim against the tide, to go against public opinion? So there's no question it's a test of courage. It takes no courage to say, give trans women their rights, let them swim with other swimmers, with female swimmers and so on. It doesn't take much courage, certainly not at this time, and certainly not in the United States of America. So one test of it is that. Another test is common sense. It violates common sense to argue that men and women should have different teams in swimming, but if a man says he's a woman, he's allowed to cross over and compete against women. And then, as in the case of someone named Leah Thomas at the University of Pennsylvania swim team, win all of these championships and deprive biological women of the chance to be number one and get a scholarship, perhaps, or something, some other form of reward for being number one. So it's a test of your courage. It's a test of your common sense. Those are two big tests. And J.K. Rowling, who's wrote this phenomenally successful author, I think the wealthiest author just from books living. Yeah. She has taken the road of courage and common sense, and she has lost a lot of support. I'll give you an example that I learned again on the Dennis and Julie podcast. Julie, last year, graduated from Harvard, and she just learned from some friends who were still there that there was going to be a Harry Potter Halloween themed party. And some of them said, no, we can't do that because J.K. Rowling is transphobic. For those of you watching this Fireside Chat on social media, please know that you can continue, but at about the halfway point, which may well be now, we go straight to PragerU.com. We are concerned about the possibility of YouTube censoring some PragerU content or whatever social medium it is, to be honest. And we would like you to go to PragerU.com and subscribe and get the app so that you can watch this there at any time that you desire.